Now it's time to go back to local sports stories from 1998, and of course, it's time to go back into September that year.
The Breakers were out. Don't practice as part of the launch of the upcoming National Soccer League season, which starts in a month.
I knew he was going to get cut, but he's got a point to prove. He's 27, so...
Well, there were so-called changes in the lineup. The Knockers, after the grand final of the NBN Soccer League, is all but over. Still practicing and still training. Newcastle, we're still ready to start it off with a win. And if the Breakers win at home at Breaker Stadium, it will be a huge victory. Mr. Crash, NBN News. It's finals time for the Newcastle Wildfires. They need to beat their rivals this weekend. Meanwhile, it's not over for the club. They still have a few more wins to come. It's one more chance for the Wildfires, otherwise they are out. Meanwhile, the preliminary final of the Newcastle Rugby Union gets underway this afternoon between Singleton and the Waratahs. And the finals of the NBN Soccer League also start with the minor semi-final on Saturday between Broadmeadow and Toronto Wabba. While on Sunday, the major semi-final has Edgeworth up against their rivals Hamilton. Mr. Crash, NBN News. No, it's not the world's smallest village played. It's the NBN Soccer League Finals, which started last night. Goes through to the grand final when we crown major premieres. Mr. Crash, NBN News.
It's fighting with the preliminary final. Newcastle Rugby Union was honored. With Montmelbrook and Maitland were scoring twos and well securing a grand final spot. Despite the muddy conditions, it was still on three after three after three. But Maitland managed to beat their rivals by scoring more. They will now meet Singleton in next Saturday's grand final to the Explorer. Good news.
No, it's not someone about to get their Jack Swipe. It's the preliminary final of the Newcastle Australian Football League between Warners Bay vs Nelson Bay. day. Nelson McKendall goes in with Rita Strong. They'll be Cardiff in the grand final next weekend. Schreiber the Fox. NBN News.
Marathon Stadium was transformed into a rugby union game for the Newcastle Wildfires, but not everything went well for the home side. Instead, they were hammered by their rivals. Despite scoring a few tries, sadly it was not enough for Newcastle to beat their rivals and go through to the semi-finals. Mr. Crash, NBN News.
The NBN Soccer League files started in 70, and because of the Toronto Robber into the preliminary final after beating their rivals that day. Playing Sunday's major semi, Rome do with a stroke for Maitland downing them 2-0. Well, they are through to the preliminary final against Toronto, Maitland are hoping to secure an upset win. Go through to the grand final. Squidward tentacles, and being knows.
Scone had a better one in the Group 21 Rugby League Grand Final for 1998, as they took on rivals Damon just simply one of the best. Despite winning against Old Enemies Aberdeen in the preliminary final last week, Scone managed to score lots of tries. Damon also got through to the grand final as well, by beating Muswell, but despite scoring a few tries, it wasn't to be. With Scone winning back-to-back Group 21 Rugby League premierships for the first time after scoring plenty more tries in the final few minutes, celebrations will continue right through the Pepper Hunter. Patrick Starr, NBN News.
With the Knights enjoying a week off from the finals, it was time to canoe Paul with the Knight players. But it was not just that. Andrew Johns and his teammates at a conference which occurred this afternoon.
As Brett said, to be judged by your peers as best player. And he said, I think also was.
The Knights return and almost winning the quarterfinal against the Roosters next weekend. Also, the Knights are hoping to win that in the preliminary final against the Bulldogs to go through to the grand final. SpongeBob SquarePants, NBN News.
This is probably one of the best awards you can get.
I think we can force
Singleton were just to kill for their enemies in the Newcastle Rugby Union Preliminary Final. They will join Maitland next Saturday. Also, the Nelson Bay Marlins will be with the Cardiff Hawks in next weekend's Newcastle Aussie Football League Grand Final after beating Warners Bay.
It may be a bit muddy, but if all faith, the grand final of Newcastle, Bradeen must go on. Maitland and Singleton are up against each other this weekend. The question is who will win the big one?
So there he goes, we get the driver. I got it. Take it, get on me.
The Vermouth will be crowned major premier for 1998. So Cat NBN knows.
Both Maitland and Singleton ran straight onto the field, just in time for the 1990 at Newcastle Rugby Union Grand Final. Maitland scored first. Then minutes later, Singleton scored. Then Maitland scored again. It was real and huge as well as spectacular. It was all Maitland. They scored more tries before winning in 1990 at Newcastle Rugby Union Grand Final. Bugs Bunny and being nervous.
Despite losing in only two of their previous Newcastle Australian Football League Grand Finals, the Cardiff Hawks did not want to lose another one today, becoming major premiers after defeating Nelson Bay 103-58. Cardiff were spectacular and strong, winning their first Newcastle Australian Football League title since 1980. Mr. Krabs reporting for NBN News.
It's the best day, which means grand final time in the NBN Soccer League, which starts this weekend, and that means Saturday. Will be great because the one team that wins a big one will be crowned major premiers of Indian Soccer League this weekend. It's also grand final time in state league soccer as Northern New South Wales taking New South Wales in the first grade. While in the reserve grade, Northern New South Wales takes on Sutherland. Northern New South Wales have won a semi-final, beating Muckonell, Squidward Tentacles, and the Innos.
No, it's not the Maitland Mustangs, it's the Newcastle Falcons up against their rivals, winning today's match. The Falcons managed to secure the victory with plenty of slam dunks right throughout the game. Mr. Crash, NBN News. The Newcastle hockey finals is what the men, so too did the women. Their good skills made them spectacular and amazing. And of course, whoever wins the men's and women's grand final will be crowned major premiers. Mr. Krabs, NBN News. It was the grand final of the NBN Soccer League between Toronto Women and Belmont after both sides eliminated the rest of the competition. Belmont scored first. Then it was Toronto Women who scored after that. Belmont continued on with the scorings and kicking goals. But it was all Belmont claiming the NBN Soccer League Major Premiership. Mr. Krabs, NBN News.
No, not real, but drag racing up in Newcastle started tonight with a demolition derby. A lot of bashing and crashing it. That it all had to start in a good way instead of a bad way. But one dragster thought he had the crowd roaring on, and moments later he crashed, but was lucky enough to walk away without any injury.
Upside down. Alan Day alongside Ian. Oh, someone's torn a wheel off. Riders at the moment with young Jason Gates settling down to the job at hand on the final stages of the black and white out. And Adam Paul Clark. Here comes Clarkie, the number one. Oh, trouble in turn number one.
Despite the crashing as well as a derby playing in Newcastle, was in the name of drag racing. Sandy Cheeks, NBN News.
Round goes McPherson with nowhere left to
Robbie Davis got cleared by the judiciary due to a test which was not good, but thankfully his Knights teammates have been on his side since. Sandy Cheeks, NBN News. Not it's not drag racing. It's review time in Newcastle, and that means the local cowboys on their own horses riding up and down. There were a lot of bouncing, as well as falls, which has a lot of fun. falling off. Plenty of locals were done radioing, getting on their own feet up at Newcastle. Sandy Cheeks, NBN News.
The Newcastle Breakers were getting ready for their first home game of the 1998-1999 National Soccer League season, which starts this weekend. But first, they had to start training overnight. Newcastle has a home game at Breakers Stadium to start the season off with a win against their rivals Sonic the Hedgehog and NBN News.
Their track racing was right in Newcastle again, and just like motorbikes, cars, trucks, and drag racing, there were lots of crashes, but thankfully no injuries. Steering wheel still came off, but that did stop the locals from having a lot of great fun. Also, the little emphatic gone before the big ones wrapped it up with their thing. Meanwhile, to Newcastle hockey and North had a victory. And in soccer, the Breakers secured a win at home, while Australia defeated Brazil. This is Tias reporting for NBN News.
Malcolm Reddy is one of the night's best coaches. Even felt it's his last year at the club he guided Newcastle to their first premiership win in 1997. Today he released a book all about his life as a coach for the club. Before he was a coach, he was a rugby league player before retiring due to injury. He coached in Great Britain from the 80s to 90s before he decided to coach the Knights.
Super tough, super aggressive. You knew that on a very rare occasion, a brutal summation.
And of course now, we are going to miss you so much, Mr. Krabs, NBN News.
And of course we'll have a look at the year 1999 tomorrow. That's it for now from August here.